$1 million Bitcoin this year? Come on, let's get real. Today, we're going to talk about finding legit price targets while Bitcoin is in price discovery. Hey guys, it's Keith Allen, and I got to show you something right now that literally just, oh my gosh, this is actually surreal to look at this. So I'm going to, while I'm giving you the preview of what's happening, I'm going to go ahead and share what is happening here in real time on fire charts as Bitcoin price just absolutely ripped through 115K. This was not a roof pull. I saw this, just a minute ago, literally ripping through this. We've got big upside from all order classes. We can see this is, let's see, went from minus 5 million up to, so there you go. There's 130 million, 128 million in a minute. Boom, ripping right through it. And I know this counters what I said earlier. I posted on X. I'm going to own this. I posted earlier on X that not expecting a pullback today was unrealistic. And we did get a small pullback here briefly this morning. But geez, this is just an absolute rip through the charts. So, that said, I do think that at some point in time we are going to see a support test, because you know how I feel about straight lines. They tend to not be sustainable. So let's go back to the pretty stuff right here. This is amazing. Absolutely amazing. 115K, as I said earlier, is a psychological resistance level, psychological target. We're in price discovery at this point. And so we did have some decent liquidity in this range here. I think it was about 50 million, right here, about 40 million right here at 115K, and a little more around it. Took it up to about, 75, 80 million in that range. And we've obviously just ripped through that to a new all-time high, and there are more all-time highs coming. Now, this does not mean that price cannot retreat from here. It can. You can see that very quickly some bids moved up into place to try and hold this up and keep this supported. We'll see if that holds or not. But quite frankly, all we have to do, in my opinion, is stay above this, really the 109K level. And I'll show you why that level, not to get too sidetracked from the mission on this this actual stream here, but let me just show you this since we're here at the moment. I just want to see this weekly open here on the first week of the quarter, protected here at 109K, just above 109K. And of course, RS flipping the all-time high at 112. That's just gravy at this point. So as I mentioned on the at the open, we hear guys like Michael Saylor, Robert Kyosaki, Larry Fink, all these other different fund managers throwing out crazy numbers. And I'm not saying that those numbers are unachievable, because I do think that Bitcoin will one day become a seven-figure asset, maybe potentially even eight figures, like Saylor says. But what's he say? He says, one day he says 13 million, then I think I've heard 21 million, and he's basing those numbers on how much of the total money supply in the world comes into Bitcoin. So that's one thing. And then there is Robert Kyosaki. He's got a target of like 350K, something like that here for this cycle, I believe. Larry Fink says 700,000. So what are these numbers, and why do they actually matter? Well, it's marketing, plain and simple. All of those people stand to gain by attracting more people into Bitcoin. They're great evangelists, they're great marketers, but I've seen very few of them actually, if any, actually give us a methodology behind finding those targets, other than something largely speculative. So in this analysis, I'm going to show you how I use technical analysis to at least come up with some technically based price targets. And sure, things could change. Absolutely, things could change. There's no absolutes in this game, and we do have some outside forces working that might influence price and push things higher. Things like that narrative on the world reserve currency, things like all of these companies moving into new treasury strategies, et cetera, et cetera. But we just, and I apologize if I'm distracted. I got stuff coming at me from all sides right now. I'm sure, like you, your feed is blowing up and you're getting all sorts of news flashes. I just saw a report come in of 119K, where I'm looking. I'm seeing 116K as where we sit right now. Let me see if that's any different on Coinbase, and we'll go from there. All right, so 116, not even 116 on Coinbase. So as usual, live chat is open. As usual, you can help me out by sharing and commenting in the chat and sharing the stream, helping me grow the channel. I appreciate that wholeheartedly. So let's go ahead, climb into this. And I apologize, it's late in the day today. It's been a busy one, as it has been for probably everybody who's a full-time trader. So let's go to where I have some price targeting lined up here for you. And if you're an OG member of the stream, then you probably remember this cup and handle it took years to build. Absolutely took years to develop this cup and handle pattern. Biggest one I've ever seen ever on any asset, and have been waiting for this to play out. And so here's how I've reached my first targets. And maybe I should let me eliminate some stuff and make this easier to view, and then we'll get back into looking at all of it here. So I want to remove this, and I want to remove the fib extension, and let's just look straight up at a measured move on this cup and handle. And I came up with this target back in March of 2024, so well over a year ago, when the cup was first formed. And to find a target on a cup and handle, you use a measured move, and I've done that with well, hello, good to have you here, man. I've done that by drawing here the drawdown from the rim of the cup, and then we extrapolate that and we do it to the upside of the rim of the cup. Now, I'm doing this in a percentage rather than just a straight line measured move, because I'm using a logarithmic scale on the chart. If I was using linear, then I would go to the line. But 77.5% roughly from the rim of the cup to the bottom of the cup. It takes a measured move, 77%, 77.5% to the upside. And that gives us a target of about 122.5, let's see, 122.5-ish, 123-ish is where I came up with. Now, since this time, there has been a lot of development in this industry, largely institutional. Institutional adoption has really ramped up. There's been a lot going on. And so this is a very conservative target, in my opinion. And I am not really convinced that it's going to be the top. In fact, I'm feeling confident that price is likely to go higher than 122. Especially because of the pace things are moving right now as we speak. Now, if it took us till the end of the year, or even into Q4 to get to this point, then I might say, hey, this is a legit, really has a good chance of being the cycle top. And again, that remains to be seen. But at this moment, it sure seems like things are moving faster than that. Hey, Crypto Believer, good to have you with me. So this is my first target, and we may have a little pause from this range, but I'm not convinced that this is going to be the cycle top. So then I want to take you to what looks like a reasonable technical target from there, and that would be a fib extension, and this fib extension runs from. Hang on a second. Let me see what I've got going on here. I got. Let's reel this in a bit. So you can draw fibs from anywhere you want. This fib extension is really from the prior swing high um, down to the swing low, and that gives us a let me that gives us a 0.618. Excuse me, a 1.618 around 130K, and I'll extend this again for you. So that makes this 130K level potential, right? That's legit right there. And so that is a possibility. Again, the pace things are going right now has a lot to do with things. And we know that we have three major pieces of crypto legislation coming across Congress over the next week or so. And so this could be a just absolutely rocket fuel if those things pass. Could absolutely be rocket fuel for the asset class. So we'll be watching that, of course. And then up from here, where do we go? 165K would be the next fib extension. Then on up to the 200 range. Then up to 235. So these are fib extensions off of our prior swing high down to this low here. If you wanted to do something in terms of a bigger, a fib from the previous all-time high, from the previous all-time high macro top, we could look at it this way and see how these come into play here. Let's just eliminate some of this overlap here so it's easier to see. And this puts us, well, that one's already been reached, right? And let's see if these go anywhere correlated. I actually like I like these better, but it's anybody's game. You never really know. Okay, so here's two different ways for you to look at this. This would be the macro off of the prior market's top, 2021 top, down to the bear market bottom, and so this is more macro than this is in terms of where we are. This is kind of more adjusted towards the local trend at this point, I would say. And now we have another component I want to introduce to the mix, and that is going to be the lifetime channel. Now, Bitcoin has not been in this channel for quite some time. And I'm going to zoom out here because you can see historically, we lived in that channel for a long, long time, for most of Bitcoin's life, and dropped out here on that bear market in 2022 and have yet to make our way back in. We retested this back in February of 2024, but still have yet to climb back into that channel. So whether we ever make it back into that channel or not, quite frankly, remains to be seen. There's a chance that we don't. And if that happens, we could conceivably grind. Let's just shrink this up, get it out of our way. Okay. We could conceivably grind for a lot longer, right? We could grind up here, boom, 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 for years and never make it back in, and still eventually get to those crazy numbers, 500,000, 700,000, $1 million plus Bitcoin over time. Okay. And time is important here to consider. Now, if we're able to break back into this in the like this cycle, That changes things drastically because if we can break back into this during this cycle, then that really gives us huge upside potential within this cycle as far up, and again, over time, these things travel, right? Obviously, it's not going to happen in a day, but where we sit right now, the top of that channel, the top of that range is at $3.6 million. The midline seems to be a pretty good place for resistance in a lot of scenarios where the market had either topped at that midline or run into resistance at that midline. But there have been, of course, been occasions where we take it to the top of that channel. So those are things to consider here as well. I got to clear this. I can't handle all the noise in the channel. I mean, in the chart. So pardon me for clearing some of these things out. So this is really, in my opinion, the glass ceiling on price discovery. Is this where price is going to bounce from? Are we going to reject from this and come back down and retest support somewhere along the way? Or can Bitcoin make it back into this range? So to be clear, I'm not saying that any of those pie in the sky numbers that we've heard that are literally polluting social media networks as we speak, I'm not saying that those aren't achievable targets. I'm just saying that there's just not a lot of basis behind them. At least they're not sharing a lot of basis behind them to tell us why they've come up with those targets, especially on this cycle time frame. So in terms of lifetime all-time high, who freaking knows? Nobody knows. Nobody can say with any confidence that they know. Michael Saylor cannot say with any confidence that he knows that Bitcoin's lifetime all-time high will be 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, 13 million, 21 million. He can't say with any certainty that those numbers are going to be met. And I can't say with any certainty that those numbers won't be met. Time will tell. How does this all play out in the long game? In the grand scheme of things, this is very, very early. We're talking about a new potential world reserve currency. It takes decades for that to happen. Decades for that to happen. And we're really, really early in the grand scheme of things for that. So keep that in mind. But I also don't want you to get wrecked. I also don't want you to come all in thinking that we're going to hit 500,000 this year and that not happen. And so you have to have at least some basis for your decisions, some basis for your targets. Do not follow somebody blind. Just had a discussion with somebody in our Telegram community about how he got wrecked and he lost 99.9% of his portfolio just before this bull run. Listen, we've all made mistakes in this game. We learn from our mistakes. We've all, anybody who has traded for more than a hot minute has taken their lumps, myself included. Back in 2017, when I started, I enjoyed that run from 6K up to 20K. And then what happened? 2017, things topped out. Guess what happened? I lost 70% of my portfolio because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand risk management. I was making emotional trading decisions. I was following people who traded longer than me, who I felt knew more. But then I realized I have to trade what works for me. I have to understand what I'm doing before I push a button. I no longer, not since then, have I traded blindly on what somebody told me. I'll take their insights and I'll go look and search for myself and see if it makes sense to me. And if it does, then I might take a position. But I'm not going on anybody's word other than my own. And I would encourage you to do the same. Don't take my word for it. Don't use my targets. You look at the chart and you pick your targets. I'm showing you the methodologies that I use and the tools that I use. You use what works for you. That's all you can do. If you're making trading decisions based on something that somebody else said or based on something that you don't completely understand, you are setting yourself up for failure. Don't do it. Best advice I could give you. That's the only advice I'll give you. I won't tell you what to trade or when to buy or when to sell, but I will tell you that, oh, thanks, Sonny. Very, very nice. I appreciate that. But I will tell you that if you are not a disciplined trader, if you're making emotional decisions and you're following people blind, it's a matter of time until you get wrecked. Don't let it happen to you. So, this is going to be a pretty short one. I just want to make sure that you guys are aligned and you understand that you can't take Michael Saylor's word for it. You can't take Larry Fink or CZ's word for it. These guys all have ulterior motives. They want to get more money into the game. Understandable. It helps us all, right? The more people that come in helps us all. The more that supply is eaten up, it helps us all. But don't follow those targets with blind faith. You've got to find a legitimate reason for what your targets are. And I've just shown you a couple ways to do that. Now, I also, in addition to this technical analysis, I also use fire charts to help me. But there's also differences here, right? I showed you earlier how I felt like 115 was a psychological target. But there was enough liquidity here to slow things down. But boy, somebody came in strong and poured in 100 and some odd million bucks in a hurry in market orders and blasted through that. That may be a a strategic move by somebody, and we know we have these strategic reserves coming in, and somebody's trying to get it before it gets before it gets higher, and they've done so. They moved price a lot, and they got a lot of people FOMOing their way in now. And look at this; they're putting in support, putting their money where their mouth is to try and hold things up here and keep price elevated and moving north from here. So look at this now. We're seeing the chart shift. Look at this. Ask liquidity now laddering up to 130. This is probably as far as we could see for now. It's going to take some time for the for fire charts to adjust, and we will start seeing more of the upper range here. Let me zoom out and see how much is showing here at the moment. See if this goes up much higher. Yes, this chart's gonna have to refresh to give me an update here. So we'll give that a few minutes. In the meantime, I'm excited by the fact that we do have this price action. We do have what looks to be a pretty aggressive run. Yesterday, I told you that I felt like this had the characteristics of a sustainable rally. And so far we're seeing that. Again, this does not mean that price cannot pull back. I saw somebody post today that price will never ever be below 110K again. Guess what? You can't say that. You can't say never. There's just the only certainty in trading is that you can't be 100% certain about anything. Just doesn't happen. There are too many forces at work, including some manipulative ones, including black swans that are circling the pond on any given day, including a manipulative administration that has their own agenda in terms of crypto. And so you've just got to be now I'm seeing a headline about a strategic reserve coming. We've been hearing about the strategic reserve coming, but guess what? It hasn't materialized yet. And the market is reacting to speculation. Show us proof. Show us exactly how you're going to build that strategic reserve, Mr. President. Start acquiring more Bitcoin, Mr. President, and then we will believe what you say. Because until there's action that supports the claims and the talk and the hot fucking air that comes out of that guy's mouth, don't believe anything. Simple as that. So, yes, do I think it would be advantageous to have a strategic reserve? Yes. Do I think it would be advantageous to maybe exchange some of the gold reserves for Bitcoin reserves? Yes, I do think that maybe a rebalancing might be in order. But until we see it, it hasn't happened. It's speculation. Keep that in mind. Simple as that. So, sorry to get a little political on you. Just had to get that off my chest. But want to make you guys realize that you cannot simply trade on blind faith of what Michael Saylor says, what Larry Fink says, what Donald Trump says, or what anybody says. The truth is in the the charts, use technical analysis, use whatever indicators you like to use, and make data-based decisions. Now, congratulate yourself. If you're here, that means you've already gotten into the game. You own some Bitcoin, most likely, and you are early. So congratulate yourself. Job well done. We got a long way to go, but pretty excited to see where things are headed at this stage in the game. Hope that helps you out. Hope that gives you some insight. Hope that gives you some realistic expectations of where price can go from here. And hopefully you protect yourself, knowing that we could indeed see a pullback, and that a pullback would be healthy because, as I like to say, straight lines are not sustainable. This is at this stage only a 6% candle. That's nothing to get terribly excited or terribly concerned about. And I would say that consolidations are healthy. We just came through a very long and healthy consolidation above 100K. And now we need to validate the RS flip. We've got this RS flip above the trend line, this RS flip above that the quarterly and weekly open, and we got to validate this move. So there will be a pullback at some point to test support. Maybe that comes tomorrow. Maybe that comes this weekend. Maybe it comes a week from now or 2 weeks from now or a month from now. Who knows? But I like where we're headed. Damn sure like where we're headed. So thanks again for the follow. I hope this has been insightful for you. And I hope you will share it and help me grow the channel. If you're interested in any of the tools I'm sharing, you can find links in the description. And if you're not yet in our free Telegram community, get over there. Check it out. Link is in the description, and link is on the Material Indicators X page. You can find them all there. Would love to have you there. Would love to engage with you. Hope this helped you out. Trade safe, my friends. It's going to be a great week.